Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Carlos Chalico. I am a partner with EY, and it's an absolute privilege to be here with these amazing panelists and at this edition of the Canadian Women in Cybersecurity. So, as I very briefly said, my name is Carlos Chalico. I will add a fun fact to that. And the fun fact is that I am a drummer. So I will ask every single one of our panelists to briefly talk to us about themselves so that we can just jump into the questions. Shannon, do you want to be the first one?
Sure. I love being the first one. I'm Shannon Noonan. I'm Shannon Noonan, CEO and founder of HiNoon Consulting and 4542. Long story short, I'm an accountant that became a cybersecurity individual, and I'm excited to be here. And I'm a mother of two just for fun.
Oh, well, just for fun.
Just for fun. Just for
You're my hero. Thank you.
Disney's
Rhonda.
my favorite channel.
Can realize
Awesome.
that. Rhonda, do you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. Rhonda Bunn, Chief Administrative Officer for the town of Midland. Prior to this, I was the CISO for the province of Ontario. And I love the cybersecurity. I'm so glad that I still get to stay connected. And my fun fact too is I'll copy you, Shannon. I am a mother of two as well.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Just for fun. Shurouq, last but not least.
Hi, everyone. Shurouq Hijazi here. I'm a managing director at KeyData Cyber, where I focus on identity and access management. Prior to KeyData, I was in Deloitte and EY, to have lots of mutual friends in the industry with the panelists here. I think it's a small world. But a fun fact that used to be my fun fact is I never lived in one city more than 5 years. But as of 2025, as of 5 months ago, Toronto took the prize. I've been here. This is my 6th year. So I can no longer say that.
We won. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
I love it. I love it here.
That's cool. Well, let's just stay with you, and let me just go to the first question that we have for the panel. Why and how did you decide to build a career in cybersecurity? How did you come to this point in your life?
Sure. Yeah. For me, it was almost like through side conversations. So I started in tech consulting at EY, and I graduated with a degree in electrical and computer engineering. So I had a little bit of a interest in that computer science-y type of world, but also like in the business world. And I thought consulting was a great fit because it balanced both. But with tech consulting, I felt like it's very general and it wasn't providing that sort of technical expertise that I was really looking forward to. And I was just chatting with different people, like, what do you do? What do you do? And someone said, hey, have you ever talked to the cyber team? They do some cool things there. And this was me as an intern in university. So I kept talking to folks in the cyberspace and eventually found that the work you do in cyber is incredibly diverse. Like it can range from really technical to really non-technical, and I like that. I like that diversity. And through a woman actually in cyber, her name is Danielle Cosgrove. She was a senior manager at UI at the time. I spoke to her. I was like, hey, how do I get away from? Because at the time, IT consulting was a separate leg from cyber consulting, and she made introductions. So she was my sponsor in the firm, and through just conversations with partners in the cyber practice, they were willing to bring me on board on their team, and that's how I got introduced. And I did a little bit of everything in the beginning. So I got involved. I think at first it was vulnerability management, then data protection and privacy, cyber assessments, eventually landed in the identity and access management domain. So that's my story in cyber.
We are cyber and we have fun. We are fun to work with, and we have cookies on the dark side. So what I love from your story, Shurouq, is that curiosity. So you were doing something and you started asking questions and discovered people and discovered other paths. And those paths were the ones who moved you to where you are right now, which is amazing. Rhonda, do you want to go next? The question is, why and how did you come to this point, cyber, and this point in your career?
It was interesting. It was in the early days, I was working for a pharmaceutical company that actually had been breached. So they had done the patches and their information in Europe had been breached. And so they really took it seriously. It was like 2008, I think. So they had said, hey, you know what? We're not going to wait until September to send you to training on cybersecurity, or it was called information security then.
Yeah, at the
We're
time,
gonna,
sure.
yeah. So we're going to send you over to Germany, which was sort of cool, but to do this week course because we really think it's really important. And so that was my first sort of opening into what is cybersecurity today. And I thought, it's really interesting. And then fast forward, I had the opportunity several years ago or a few years ago to apply to the Ontario government as the CISO. And just loved it. I did swear when I was at the city of Barrie, I was starting up, I was their CIO and executive director there. I was starting up a cybersecurity area. And we had Vern from the OPP come and do a presentation. And I went, oh my gosh, this is like so interesting that, that you'd never be bored in this field. And so I had the opportunity to go to the province. I thoroughly enjoyed it and loved it. And although I'm out of like that daily cyber, I mean, it's part of all our lives every day anyway. So I still get to keep up with it. So that's sort of my journey to how I got there.
That's pretty interesting. And just following what I did with Shurouq on calling out that curiosity, in your case, I would call out the persistence. So you were sent to this training in Germany and you like what you learned and you started just going forward and moving forward and going for more.
Yeah.
And that's impressive. Thank you. Shannon, what about you? Why and how?
Why and how?
You seem to be very happy. So why and
I'm
how?
always happy. I'm always happy. I'm in the middle of an audit as we speak.
Oh, that's cool. That's why.
I'm getting a client
Sure.
through an audit. So
Those auditors, that's cool. Okay.
why and how? To be honest with you, the why is always fascinating because I don't really have a direct answer for it. My path, I just kind of followed the path. I asked a lot of questions. I went down different avenues. As I said earlier, I was an accountant. I thought I was going to be a CFO. That was my big dream. And I mean, granted, now I'm a CEO, but at the end of the day, my big dream was to be a CFO. I was going to tick and tie those journal entries and make sure that balance sheet was great as can be. And one thing led to another, and I fell in love with technology. And it just kind of led me down the path of security, right? And security is so big. There's not one path, right? Cybersecurity is many different paths, and it's just a continuous of learning, right? And that's even evolving because at the end of the day, I love business and business process, and it's fun to show how it's very integrated. It's not separate. So that's my funness. I love to solution, and I love to integrate the fact that it's not over here in its own dark world and scary, right? It's actually fully involved in every aspect of the business. So
That's amazing. And I will use the word integration to associate to what you're saying. It's pretty impressive that you went through one path, financial career, being an accountant, but then you discovered technology and you integrated these new skills to the ones you already had in order to expand what you were doing. And you made me think, I have been with EY for a long time. I joined the firm back in 1996. So next year is going to be my 30th anniversary in the field. As impressive as it sounds, I'm getting old.
it's amazing.
So what it is?
It's amazing what you've dealt with. Bless you.
Yeah. Thank you. What I
Congrats,
want
for
to say
real.
is that in this amazing journey, I have met a number of accountants that have gone through that route, and not only accountants, but people from other disciplines. So what I want to say is that cybersecurity is a field that welcomes everyone. There's this misconception that you need to be insanely technical to go into cybersecurity. That's not a lie, but it is not necessarily true all the time. There's different disciplines and different things that can be done in cybersecurity that require of other skills. And just taking advantage of that and just bringing this to the conversation, there's a book that I recently found that is called See Yourself in Cyber by a gentleman whose name is Ed Adams. And what I like about the book is that it presents this full spectrum of what you can do in cybersecurity and the different things and paths that you can follow in order to succeed. Yes, you need to be very technical if you want to go to the technical side of cybersecurity, but maybe you need to be very business oriented and compliance oriented if you want to go to the management side of the spectrum, the compliance side of the spectrum. So different things that can be done, and I highly recommend that book. But going back to you, which is the important piece today, um, in this journey and through this curiosity, this persistence, and this integration, something that was common in the three descriptions of your paths is that you asked questions and that you talk to people. So the question is, how is it that you identify mentors, supporters, or champions on the road in order to define this path that you have followed? And how can you make a difference between the three of them? I will go with you, Shannon, because you like to be the first one. So let's make it happen
It's the
again.
competitive side. It's the athlete in
I
me.
can see that.
All right. And I keep swiveling, so I apologize to everyone. But no, my mentors, to be honest with you, I've always had a mentor or a champion or someone there. It's the driver, it's the person that supports you, right? Whether it's your parents, to be honest with you, we all have a mentor when we start in life, right? Mine were my parents, right? They encouraged me to make mistakes and grow and learn, right? There was never a point where I wasn't allowed to fail. And everyone's probably sitting there saying, did she say the words fail? But your mentors allow you to fail and experience life, right? And grow. And then when I started my career in the world, my mentor actually was the first person, was my first boss. And ironically enough, my first boss works for me now. And so he always enjoyed working with me. I always enjoyed working for him. And now he works for my company. And so I became his mentor later in life, right? So it's just an evolution of it. But later in my career, how I got into cybersecurity, one of the people that became my mentor, his name's Malcolm Harkins, huge person in the industry. He took a risk on me. I thought I knew cybersecurity. I knew nothing about it. I knew encryption. No, I didn't know that either. I did an audit all around encryption and backups, and I thought I was the kingpin on that. And when I walked into the organization at Silence, and thinking I knew cybersecurity, he took a huge risk on me. And he said, I know you can do this. Now, good luck. Here's your runway, make it happen. And that was the greatest thing, because he gave me a runway to be successful and learn from my experience, but also be able to ask questions. And he stayed by me and worked with me. He still works with me. We have touch points now where he provides guidance, right? And it just evolves, right? Your mentors and champions support you in different ways, right? Whether they help you get a job, or they take a risk on you, or they just give you the right guidance, right? And so it's just a matter of, you don't have to have that official mentor. Sometimes you just have to pick up the phone and ask questions to somebody and allow them to give you guidance and be willing to listen, right? So I would say I've had a lot of great mentors in my career, and sometimes they weren't official. They were just people who championed my exposure and experience to many different things.
Thank you. You can see me using my phone as you're speaking. I am not texting. I am just making notes of what you say.
I
So
love it.
the word I was thinking as you were describing this, Shannon, is braveness, and I want to connect that to the curiosity that was called out through Shurouq's story. And it is not only having this curiosity, excuse me, to learn new things and go for new things. It's being brave enough to ask the questions you need to ask to the people you want to know more. If you don't do that, and if you don't just go for those questions, you will not get the answers that you are needing. So that's an issue. I love that, and I love the descriptions you made of your mentor, who is someone who believed in you and was pushing you to do things and make decisions and take risks and going for things. So that's amazing. Shurouq, do you want to go next? The question again, just to remind you of that, is how is it that you identified mentors, supporters, or champions on the road? And how did you take advantage of their presence? So how did you use them?
Yeah, so a couple of points. I think some were organic, based on people you interact with, whom you click in a way, and you have a great conversation, and you have like coffee chat after coffee chat, and they kind of indirectly transform into your mentor. Like some of them, it was never formal. It was kind of understood subliminally that, hey, you're the person I go to get advice, to get career coaching, etc. Others were formal. So I've had the privilege of being on a couple of programs. One I'll give shout out to is the Emerging Leaders in Cyber initiative at TMU. And through that, like it's a cyber leadership course, through that there is a formal mentorship program. Similarly, in like the organizations I've worked with, there was also someone within the firm as part of the organizational structure, someone who's there to guide you, to coach you, aside from like performance management, someone who's just there to support your career growth. So some of these can be formal, others just developed organically. But the way I leverage them is really as a soundboard to get a sense of at each stage of my career, it was a different question or different type of career move I'm looking to make. So having different advisors is really important, and to give you a holistic perspective. That's one thing I'll say. And the other is they don't have to be in cyber at all. So when I say like helping me with career advice and career move, that doesn't mean they have to be in the field. I've had some of the best, advice from, folks who are as far away from cyber as it gets, but it's been really helpful. The last point I'll make is to differentiate between like those who served as mentors versus coaches or sponsors. So they're like the mentors are the ones who you go to for the questions about your career and overall guidance. They may not give you the answer, but they'll guide you in a direction. So, sort of like a therapist, but for professional development. The coach is what I think of as more tactical. So sometimes you'll have sometimes you need the answer, someone who's like more tactical, and that would be someone in the field sometimes, or someone inside your organization to like solve some problems or help you with resources. Like here's where you go to find the answer for this particular problem. And then there's the sponsor, and I think that is the person who's usually someone with authority, who's able to open doors for you, who has enough weight in the industry to be able to when they put in a good word for you, that would matter. Someone who's able to open opportunities, take the risk on you, as Shannon mentioned, like someone who can afford to take a risk on you, and provide you these opportunities. And they don't have to be your mentor, they don't have to be your coach, but they're willing to be that person who will step up and say, oh yeah, I know Shurouq, I've worked with her, or like I know of her work ethic. I can speak to how great she'll deliver, etc., and open that door, open that introduction.
You made me think about the word. I'm debating between two, but I will go with trust, because I love that analogy you made with the therapist, which is somehow real, and I think that sensation you may have, because that's what I have, being a therapist, or playing that role as a mentor. That happens because of the level of trust that you have with the person you are talking to. So trust is a very important ingredient, a very important factor you need to look for when you are trying to identify who can be your mentor. I loved when you were describing the sponsor as well, because I think a sponsor is someone who is willing to say great things about you when you are not in the room. So that person will just talk about how great you are and the great things you do in front of others, because that person believes in you. And as you said before, maybe it's not someone that is your mentor because of whatever reason. Maybe does not have the time. Maybe there's not that click you need in order to take it to that level. There can be many reasons, but that person believes in you so that they can talk great things about you when you are not in the room. So thank you for that. Rhonda, what about you? How do you identify mentors, supporters, champions, and do you see any difference between them?
Yeah, so, similar to what Shurouq and Shannon said, I've had many unofficial mentors, and I think actually I've been given a lot of opportunities that, not that I didn't maybe deserve, but at the time I thought, wow, I can't believe this person's taking this chance on me. I mean, they don't know me. and they're opening up a door just, to allow me to grow. And I think just having that sort of, you use the word trust, but having that trust that they had in me allowed me to be more successful, because it was, wow, I have someone there that I know, is behind me and is going to try to champion me this whole way. I agree. I'll put a little bit of a spin. So from an allyship standpoint, I'll maybe add that as a difference. But when I started in 2011, I took my first CIO role, and I went to a CIO association conference and walked in the room. And, I think I've told the story before, but there was like 150 males in the room, and there was 12 females. And you know what? I'm not very tall. I like to wear, I'm wearing actually not very dressy clothes or funky clothes today, but like I like to wear colorful clothes. But if I could show you my shoes, they're pretty cool today. So that was my
I
offset to
have
my
no
outfit.
doubt.
Okay, I'll wait till later.
Okay.
But I walked in the room, and I just, I felt a little out of place. I was just new. I had only been the CIO for like a month, maybe a month and a half. And so I was feeling a little insecure. And the president of the CIO Association of Canada was someone that was the CIO of Microsoft. And he was actually the one that extended the invite to me. And he had come over to my table and said, hey, Rhonda, save me a seat. I want to catch up on things. Think you're doing great stuff at the city, and just want to chat with you. And that really opened up the door. So everyone wanted to sit at my table because he was there. But he really gave credibility to me and opened up doors. So I'm sort of adding a different word in here on on ally. I know.
Somebody said something about your shoes.
I know. They said they saw them and they
confirming they are really cool. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So it's that allyship. So I think just to add that into this whole mix, I think that for me was, wow, it's amazing how little things can actually affect someone. And so for me, it's that pay it forward. It was from that point, and I got to do a session with this individual who is, I'll just say Steve Heck, who works for Gardner. Him and I were doing a session, and I got to tell him for the first time in 2022 that he was the person that made sort of that breakthrough easier for me. And it's doing it sort of selflessly, like he didn't do it for that reason. And so for me, it's that pay it forward. And I love what you were saying, Shurouq. So I was a mentor for the emerging leaders in cybersecurity. And I want to make sure that I, recognize, or when I see someone that wants to learn and has that thirst, that I help them get to where they need to be, because I had a lot of help myself. So between, champions and mentors, and they were all different. And I agree, I had a lot that were outside of, cybersecurity and technology that really made a difference. So yeah, so I think I've been lucky, and I'm hoping that I can, help someone else feel like they were lucky, or that they have that support.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. And I will use the word opportunity to somehow summarize what you're describing. I think it's just seeing those opportunities, identifying those opportunities, and taking the chance when you have those opportunities of talking to someone and developing this mentor-mentee relationship with people that is willing to do so. But at the same time, it's the opportunity that you're giving to others. Now that you are in this position, and now that you have gone through this path, how is it that you can help others just go to the same point? So thank you for that. As surprisingly as it may sound, time is flying. So we are getting close to the end of the session. And I think that something we need to discuss is diversity, equity, inclusiveness. How relevant do you think it is? Is it something that organizations need to pay attention to? Is it something that we as individuals need to pay attention to? So Shannon, to not making an exception, let's go with you first, so that you go very motivated to defeat those auditors.
You're having a great day today.
Please, Shannon. So is DEI relevant? What do you think?
I think it is relevant, right? We have to get more people in the industry, right? there are more and more women every single day in here, right? And we've got to get away from the fear of doing it. You don't, just like we said earlier, you don't have to be a computer scientist to be in this industry. There's so many opportunities here. I know people that became from psychology into cybersecurity. I know people that were lawyers that got into cybersecurity, right? I know accountants, so on and so forth, right? It's a great opportunity, and it's getting away from the norms, right? And being willing to take a chance and also finding those champions. But yes, it is definitely needed, and putting more people at the table because you get more diverse in opinions, thoughts, and solutions. And I hate to say it, cybersecurity is the gray. There's no black and white in this world, right? There's no one way, no straight answer. And the more people at the table that are willing to think outside the box, see things from a different perspective, is tremendous for this industry, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what incident's going to occur, ransomware, malware. You don't know how it's going to happen. And if you're not thinking in all the different ways that could potentially happen, all the different use cases, and bringing all the different people onto the table that could say, hey, well, did you think about this scenario or that scenario? And if I were in this situation being X, Y, and Z, I would do the following, right? It creates more creativity and allows us to think outside the box.
Thank you so much for that. And I will use the word visibility to summarize what you are just saying, Shannon. Rhonda, what about you?
Yeah, actually, yeah, Shannon said it well. I think you need that diversity of thought, of background, of experiences, of just the whole way you look at things, because threat actors are looking at things differently, and so you need the differences to come together. You need people to be able to give one thought and have others build on it. So I think diversity, equity, inclusion is really important in workforce in general, but really cybersecurity, it's super important to really be able to have that diversity of thought come together and to work together, even from, protection, but also from how do you train people? How do you make sure that people understand? And you need different ways to look at it, because not everyone digests things the same way. So I think just from, start to finish, from technical to like the non-technical aspects of cybersecurity, it's really important.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I will use the word discovery related to what you just said, Rhonda. Thank you so much. Shurouq, what do you think about diversity, equity, and inclusiveness?
I mean, it impacts every part of what we do. Shannon and Rhonda already made some great points, and I know we only got a couple minutes, so I'll kind of just summarize. In offline, when we were talking earlier, Carlos, you mentioned some interesting observation on, like, in this field of cyber, we see a lot more women in privacy compared to other domains. So the point I want to make here is it's relevant, and in certain areas it's more than others. It may differ in terms of how well we do. I think historically we've done a better job in the privacy field, just because it requires a bit more legal background, and for some reason or another that tended to attract more female presence. But it's really important to look at these trends and see where the disparity is, so we can, and why we see more women in this but not there. Another trend we can look at is, like, I see a lot of women in at least like the entry and manager level, maybe even senior management level. But then, like, once you look at executive leadership, partners, C-suite, it becomes, as Rhonda mentioned earlier on the CIO conference that she went to, the room becomes a lot more male dominated, and it gets lonelier as a woman goes up in ranks. So how can we, it tells you something about the issue isn't about the interest or the funnel. We do have a pipeline. It's just somewhere along the lines the pipeline gets skewed, and those kind of trends of how it differs from one domain to another, or from one level to another, kind of give you glimpses on where we need to improve our DEI commitment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. And the word I will use to summarize what you said is strength. So just the summary of the words I was just using every single time you were presenting something: curiosity, persistence, integration, braveness, trust, discovery, opportunity, visibility, and strength. I think all of those are qualities that you all have that have moved you to where you are right now. And those are the ones that I would encourage the people listening to this to look for in order to make it. We need more women in cybersecurity. Period. This needs to be diverse, and we need to have different ways of thinking in order to resolve complex challenges. What you have seen today is three very talented professionals that are killing it in this field. So yes, you can. Yes, there's challenges, and yes, I know that networking needs to be very effective. We are having a comment on that. There's someone who is saying that she's moved to tears with these comments, and she's willing to know if anyone in this panel is willing to take her as a mentee without knowing her. I have already said that I am willing to do that. So if you are open
Find
to that,
us on
feel free to do so.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Find
That's
us on LinkedIn.
that's the way to say it. So,
Yeah.
and this goes to the one who wrote this, but this goes in general to anyone. If there's anyone that is interested on keeping the conversation, being in touch with these wonderful professionals, please do so, me included. I am not that wonderful, but I am included as well.
You were
So,
fabulous, Carlos.
thank you. We are 1 minute over time. So as much as I hate it, I have to stop it here and say goodbye. And I hate that I will not be able to see you in person and have a beer with you, but hopefully that will happen soon. To all the ones attending this session and the Canadian Women in Cybersecurity Conference in general, have fun, enjoy it, and thanks to the CyberX team for making this happen. I know that this is being recorded, and I am saying this fully convinced. This is my favorite conference from the many ones that I attend because of the heart that is brought into this particular event. So thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, ladies. Amazing
Thank
being
you
here
so
with you.
much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Kill it with the auditor, Shannon, please. Take care.